What you need to know about judges in criminal cases in Washington state. If that's interesting to you about what a judge's role is and what's important for you to know as a criminal defendant, then stay tuned. Hey there, my name is Lance Fryrear. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Linwood, Washington, and my law firm's been defending people charged with crimes for more than 20 years. And most people are really worried about who the judge is in their criminal case. And therefore, I put out this video about maybe what judges do and what you should know and worry about and maybe not worry about when you're thinking about who the judge is in your criminal case. So I put these videos out to help the public. So if you find this interesting or useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get to see it. So I'm just going to jump right into it. And this is just off the cuff. What I think you should know. So number one is, what is the role of a judge? Okay. For the most part, the judge in most criminal cases, shows up at an arraignment where you plead not guilty, and the judge, the first thing they do is they set conditions of release on the defendant. And so in that part, the judge is important. Okay. Will the judge issue a no contact order? Will the judge make you pay bail money to get out? Those type of things. But for the most part, the judge is going to be approving what the prosecutor wants, and sometimes there's an argument between the prosecution and defense, and the judge will make a decision. So if you have a criminal history that worries you, you've got a bad criminal history or a serious case, then who the judge is at arraignment is pretty important, and you need to ask your attorney. And if your attorney is familiar with the judge, they'll know what arguments to maybe make and what arguments to avoid. But if it's a standard situation, a first offense, not the most serious incident, then don't worry too much about who the judge is. The prosecutor's really not going to ask for much. I just ask for standard conditions, stay out of trouble, stuff like that, and they're probably just going to approve it. So once you get beyond the arraignment stage, you need to worry, again, even less about who the judge is at the pretrial stage. The pretrial stage forces the parties to get together, the defense attorney and the prosecutor, to sort of realize the case exists and move it forward. Now, a judge is always important, but in these type of hearings, usually the outcome is typically a continuance of the pretrial hearing. So don't sweat too much. That judge is likely approving new court dates, is questioning why things are going to get continued. But if you have a respected defense attorney and a respected prosecutor, the judge is going to put some faith in these people to manage the case well. So don't sweat it too much then, who the judge is. And just to step back, who is a judge? How do you become a judge? Well, a judge needs to be a lawyer, okay? And they either can be elected in the general public. If it's a full-time court, then we elect judges for the most part. We're talking state court, not federal. And if it's a part-time judge, less than full-time, something like 30 hours, I don't know the exact rules, then usually that judge will be appointed. And so they're an attorney that's either elected or appointed, and sometimes there's a pro tem judge, which is sort of a substitute judge. And that person isn't elected or appointed. They sort of get chosen by the sitting judge, the regular judge in that court, to fill in for cases where there's conflicts of interest, cases where the judge has been removed with an affidavit of prejudice. You can ask your attorney about that. And cases where, someone's on vacation or sick. So that could be anybody. I've been a pro tem judge. Lots of prosecutors are pro tem judges. And so if it's not the regular sitting judge, usually it's not a problem. If it's a motion hearing, it probably is a problem, but I'll cover that in a bit. But usually it's not a problem. But a judge is just an attorney whose job it is to sort of control what happens to the case in a way, manage the timing of it and make legal decisions when the parties can't agree, the prosecution and the defense. So now, when do you need to worry about more who the judge is? Well, motion hearings, we have to worry about who the judge is. A motion hearing is usually, there's a piece of evidence that's controversial that the defense says shouldn't be allowed typically, or the prosecution says should, like a 911 tape. Is that recording going to come into evidence or not? And there might be a motion hearing. Or is that drugs? Are they going to come into evidence? Or has there been prosecutorial mismanagement or misconduct and your defense attorney is making a motion to dismiss? Then the judge really matters, okay? It takes courage for a judge to make a ruling against the prosecution, in my opinion, okay? because they're elected, and we don't like to let people charged with crimes go. Law and order, right? So is the judge the type of person who stands up to the state, or is the judge the type of person who rubber stamps everything the state does, right? And these are generalizations, but you can ask any defense attorney or a prosecution. Some people are more likely to validate what the police did in general, and some people are more likely to invalidate it. So when you have something in serious contention, then who the judge is becomes pretty important. And so talk to your attorney, because you can sometimes try to remove the judge without cause, with that affidavit of prejudice thing. Talk to your attorney about that. When else is the judge really important? Sentencing, right? So if we've worked out a resolution, if it's an agreed resolution, usually a judge is going to follow it because the judge puts faith in the attorneys, right? But if it's a disagreed resolution, now the judge is of utmost importance, okay? So you really want to pay attention to who your sentencing judge is. Talk to your attorney, because if you have a disagreed sentence, then we really care who the judge is, right? Finally, I think the other most important time we care about who the judge is, as far as you as the defendant, us attorneys always care about as the defendant, is if you're going to trial, right? If you're going to trial, now the whole person running that trial is the judge. It's their courtroom. It's their rules. They get to decide what comes into evidence. They can have, friendly demeanors. They could have difficult demeanors. Judges vary, just like every color of the rainbow, right? As far as everyone's different. So if you're going to trial, we need to care more about who the judge is. So what do we need to know about judges? They're attorneys. They're trying to do a fair and good job. For the most part, they're approving in most hearings what happens between the attorneys. So while they're important, you don't have to worry so much about the idiosyncrasies of the judge in most hearings. But in certain times, in certain hearings, we really care who the judge is. Your attorney needs to know something about the judge. So don't be afraid to ask your attorney what they know. And is this an important hearing or not, as far as who's sitting on the bench that day? Because if you got the wrong person on the bench for your case at the wrong time, the results will be a lot worse. And if you've got a better person on the bench that's more useful for what your argument's going to be, well, that's good news. So for the most part, don't worry about it too much, but those are the things you need to know. So I hope you found this helpful. If so, please like and please subscribe. And if you need some help, feel free to reach out to my firm. We'll be happy to listen to what happened, identify a way forward, and we'll be there for you. Thank you.